Apparently, the start of a new year is when I become highly delusional about the fact that I could perfectly build from the ground up a life simulation game that is flawless, that has no imperfections whatsoever. In today's video, I kind of just wanted to focus on a few things that do slightly annoy me about The Sims 4. And you know, we're going into the 11th year, we're going into the 25th anniversary of the Sims franchise, and I don't know whether to expect like some big updates or big things to come for The Sims 4 out of that. I feel like it's gonna more draw maybe on like nostalgia, perhaps even give us the Sims 2 collection back on EA games, which I would absolutely love. Honestly, at this point, I would love for them to just give us back Origin because I'm still having so much trouble with the EA app. So today's video, I just wanted to go over a couple of objects that I personally would update in The Sims 4 to bring that longevity that I've talked about in my other wishlist videos. They keep saying that they want this game to go on for many more years. I have my own issues with it. A bunch of you have your own issues with it. So I just thought today this would be a nice little wish list, I guess, for certain objects that I actually do feel are quite attainable. But anyway, enough of my yapping, or else we're going to be here until 2026. Also, just as a little clarification, this is never like a list of demands. This isn't me being like, I want these like right now, and these are the most important things that I hold dear to me. These aren't that important. I will put it out there right now. PSA, most of you are probably not even bothered by these things, but they're just little things that I consistently notice based on the way that I play my game. Of course, no surprise to anyone, the first one is going to be something that I talk about at any given moment because I will continue to yell this from the rooftops. I think it's such an underutilized part of base game, and usually I don't really have issue with base game objects all that much because I weirdly feel like base game goes into like quite a lot of detail. A lot of the time, quite a lot of like the activities are filled out or they get worked upon like pack after pack, update after update. However, we all know that Miss Woodworking table, Miss Woodwork herself, is a forgotten feature and is one that I desperately want updating. I personally feel like this could potentially be coming in 2025. I'm gonna make a prediction. I'm gonna start to manifest this update for her because she deserves it. I think that you should be able to sell furniture that you actually craft using her, which I know you could technically do just through your build buy mode inventory, and you can just like delete objects and earn money off them, but that's not super entertaining. I wish that you could maybe list them on Plopsy if you had nifty knitting, or I think that they could give an update to both the furniture that you can create using the fabrication machine and then also the woodworking, and maybe give you like a top or something to be able to sell those objects on. I know you can sell the smaller objects, but I really want an easier way to sell furniture. I would also, this is kind of going off piece, but I would love it if the furniture that you could get from dumpsters, instead of actually tying that to a career, because you need to be a certain level of the eco-innovator, I think, to get the little hoover that can actually fix up those objects. I wish that you could fix up those objects actually on your woodworking table if you had a high enough handiness skill. I personally think that needs its own woodworking skill, but then if you could fix up that furniture and then also sell that on, not only through your build and buy mode, but through an actual physical option that allowed you to sell stuff. I guess you can kind of do this if you have Get to Work and you create like a furniture shop, but I think there should just be an easier way. Maybe using the flea market top. Watch, this is where I get comments that are like, you can use the flea market top to be able to sell items like that, and I've just never ever known it because I've never thought to play with it, although I did test it out with like a toilet that my sim had crafted, and you can't actually click on the top, you can't like start a sale on it. I think the only way you can go about that is currently through the selling tables, and obviously you can't put, for example, a toilet on one of those tables. I also just think the woodworking table deserves more furniture. I think that you should be able to craft way more than you currently can. Whenever I have a sim who's into handiness, I always want them to be able to like make some more homemade stuff. Like, yeah, having the toilet, having like a dining table is all fine and dandy. I would love it if you could almost fully customize a house based off the things that you could woodwork. But then I also just wish that there were more sentimental things that you could actually create. So maybe different pieces of artwork, and also cribs, bassinets, wedding arches. Those three things are the things that I really miss. Also, maybe if they introduced rocking horses, then you could create some like kids toys. I definitely think they could hit the sentimental simmers more with the woodworking. Painting's really good for sentimentality in the game. Photos are like, okay. Don't worry, we'll also get onto photos. But if there's anything that you would love to see being able to be crafted on the woodworking table, please do not hesitate to let me know down in the comments, because I could literally make a whole video about that. Next up, I would absolutely love it if pools got a cheeky little update. Now, this one technically could be cheating, because all the others that I kind of mentioned is kind of adding functionality of replayability and just kind of refreshing a system that we already have. Whereas this is more of like new objects that can interact with a pool. Obviously, we did get rounded pool edges just before the release of Lovestruck. However, I would absolutely love it if we just got more items available for the pool. I wish that there were pool games. I wish that you could play like water polo, frisbee, catch in a pool, all of those things. I think that there should be more floats. I think that you should be able to have like rubber rings. And then also we're still missing slides and diving boards. We do have diving platforms, which I find bizarre that we have those platforms instead of diving boards. I just think pools are still so severely lacking. There's not really much for your Sims to do, and I never ever want to throw like pool parties or anything, because I'm just like, it's been 10 years. I've seen everything and anything when it comes to pools. This one might have definitely been influenced by Dumpling Sims with this gorgeous work in progress of a new animation for skating, but I would absolutely love it if both ice skating and roller skating got an update at some point. Obviously, both of those came with the Sims 4 seasons, and they do kind of tend to pop up like during certain seasons. However, you can also build a roller rink or an ice skating rink. I would just love it if there were more animations. Honestly, as a person who goes skating a fair amount, where the hell are these kids zipping around, like cutting everyone up, putting ice into all of their faces by breaking constantly in front of you, or like constantly making you fall over because they fall over in front of you and you can't stop yourself? I think there should be more romantic interactions on the roller rink. I can't remember in The Sims 4 if we actually do have a holding hands interaction. I know that that was definitely a thing in The Sims 3. Maybe it's in The Sims 4 if like both Sims are kind of good at their hidden skill of skating. But I think just being able to skate around holding hands, having Sims be able to dance if they're good at roller skating, I definitely think there could be more interesting interactions that would actually just make skating feel more part of the game and not this just like forgotten little rink that you can sometimes go on for fun. Right now, it doesn't feel that lively. It doesn't feel that fun. It feels weirder that we have more decorations for the rink and like customizability on the lights and the effects rather than what our Sims can actually even do on the ice or the rink. Another one that I've talked about an awful lot is these bloody phone cameras. How are we in 2025 and phone cameras in The Sims 4 are still terrible? Now, we can select the orientation. You can choose to be in portrait or in landscape. That I am glad of. However, there is not a darn zoom in sight when it comes to these smartphones in The Sims 4. You also can't resize photos, which I personally don't mind them being small. It's not even realistic that you can actually like print stuff from your phone. I guess you could connect it to a printer, or if you're fancy and have one of the little printers for like Polaroids or something and an app, then you can print them off. But why not just give us all sizes available that we have in actual photography on the phone, and then also give us a zoom in and a zoom out option? I'm so sick of not being able to zoom, and it's even worse because we got updated poses, but those poses now just interfere with the size of the actual camera, and I feel like you can't even get Sims heads in it anymore if you're taking a photo with multiple Sims. I also think that you should be able to pose with multiple Sims of different sizes in photos. Usually kids can only like take selfies with kids or photos with other kids, and then teens and above can do it with anyone because their heights work weird. However, I think that should be updated, and I think that they should give us poses for adult Sims and then their kids or like siblings. I definitely feel like there should be way more poses and way more flexibility when it comes to photography in general, and then also with the mobile phone cameras. Said this before, I'll say it a million times over, but I think that any screenshots that we take within the game, you should be able to turn those into photos for your Sims wall. I think that it would make making memories and all of that so much easier. I think you get so much better looking pictures if they did that, and I don't know why it's not a thing. This one I actually don't think has been updated, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But this was one of my biggest points of feedback when it came to Home Chef Hustle and the release of that pack, and it is of course the stand mixer. I think that you should be able to take whatever you have prepped on the stand mixer, like any dough or anything like that, and place it directly into your fridge, either by dragging and dropping it with like the hand tool as the omnipotent god of your Sims world, or have your Sim be able to take that and put it in their fridge, because right now it's just a pain in the arse that you have to collect it. It has to go into your Sim's inventory, and then you either have to have your Sim put it in the fridge or you have to do it yourself. They should just cut out that step completely and allow your Sim to do it autonomously. Something that winds me up about this game, but I also sometimes love, and I really just wish it had more options, was the monsters under the bed. Most of the time in my case, nightlights don't work. It might just be that the only nightlight that actually does work is the one with bears on, and I don't always want to use that nightlight. I personally really love, I think it actually did come with Parenthood, is the little moon one, and that doesn't work. So I either wish all nightlights or anything that kind of looks like a nightlight, or if you just keep a lamp on in general in a kid's room, should keep the monster under the bed at bay. Or there should just be an option on your kids' beds. If a kid is sleeping in a bed, if they've assigned that bed as their own, whether they're sleeping in it, whatever it may be, I think that you should be able to click on the bed and actually disable monsters under the bed, because they are so annoying when you don't want to play with them. I personally think we should be able to resize mirrors. This is something that I hate about the game. I always feel like so many of the Sims 4 objects are oversized, and I feel a lot of the time that mirrors are like that. Most of the time you can move mirrors up, you can't move them down. I think that's because like the interactions, and obviously you have to see a Sim's reflection, and I don't know if this would ever be possible because of those animations, but I would love to be able to resize mirrors. I'm a vegetarian and I am bloody scared of them. I have beef with food stands in this game. I hate that if you put a food stand on a community lot, it doesn't spawn with an attendant. I just think that should be a blank basic thing. Base level hiring should be done there, and the game should know if you place that on a community lot, you clearly want someone to attend it. Basically every food stand that we have in the game that is already there by default just has like a default position, and that means that the attendees are always on those. But sometimes you want to use like a spice apple one at a pumpkin patch, or you want to create a Christmas market, or you just want to plop one in a park or a community lot, and then you travel to that location, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be able to have all of these nice foods and drinks, and then you have to spend like 100 simoleons per vendor, and that's even if you're lucky, if the vendor actually even shows up, because a lot of the time they just never ever show up, and therefore it just means that they're left unattended and you can't have your spice cider or whatever it is that you fancied that day. And I just think that the game should be smart enough to know that if you've placed that where Sims are going to be, there should be a Sim running it. I don't care who it is. Look Don Lothario out of his own arse and drop him in there. As long as it's not someone from my played household, make it anyone. And finally, something that I have been annoyed about since the release of For Rent, I need them to finally update marbles. I hate that kids can't trade marbles or like play for keeps. That is a thing that is available within the pack. It hasn't personally worked for me since early access. It didn't work in early access access. It wasn't fixed before full release, and it's been what, over a year since The Sims 4 for Rent came out, and that's still not a thing, which is really unfortunate for someone like me who absolutely loves collections and wants to collect all of those within the game, but unfortunately a lot of the time can't because my Sims can't trade marbles or can't play for keeps. They play the match and then they don't get a marble in their inventory, even if the notification or an animation kind of says that they have won. Why has that not been fixed yet? I know it's a very small thing, it's very minor, it sounds like such a first world problem, but these things should work on release. Mind you, I have bigger issues than that. I actually kind of want to do a video going over all my current bugs in the game, because I know that bugs are a thing dependent on what mods and custom content you have, like what is or isn't officially affecting your game. Like updates can conk out one thing for one person, but then not actually affect the other person. So whilst I don't have any game-breaking bugs right now, not that I know of anyway, although I will say the items hanging around after like city living festivals and stuff like that does kind of scare me, because the way that like modders and also troubleshooters have been talking about it, and like this is probably actually a much bigger problem that is going to come to bite me on the butt at some point in time, but it hasn't got to it just yet, so I'm kind of just ignoring it for right now. But there's definitely major issues that I'm having, predominantly with The Sims 4 for Rent. Maybe it's just because I'm playing in rentals right now, so I'm noticing them a lot more, but there's definitely a couple of fair bugs and glitches happening within my game that a lot of other people can't seem to replicate in their games, and I know that's always tough to kind of like see what is and isn't happening and like why it is or isn't happening. But maybe I'll do what's in my bug list of 2025. So if you want to see that video, let me know. If there's any random objects that you would love updating in this game, please do not hesitate to let me know. I want to hear them all. I, one, love making videos like this because you lot always give me your thoughts and feedback, and like I get to see little nuggets into how you play your games and what is actually currently affecting you. And I also just think it's really cool to see what objects maybe some people play with a lot more than others, and actually where they sit in like your list of priorities. These weren't in any order whatsoever, so don't think that like the woodworking table is like my number one, although it probably is right now, let's be real. She just deserves more. So let me know your thoughts and I will speak to you all in my next one. Bye now.